Hi everyone, and welcome to my Magicka Nightblade build video for the Greymoor patch. This build video is going to have a similar format to the Stamina Nightblade one, where there are three parts. The first part, I'm going to go over all the different gear setups I like to use. The second part, a standard 21mm iron Atro dummy pass. And the third part, some raid clips where I hopefully show you how I think you can execute the Magicka Nightblade in a raid effectively. Hope you enjoy. And this is probably the longest part of the video, as there's quite a few things I want to touch on and some changes to the Magicka Nightblade this patch in terms of gear setups and skill choices, thanks to the introduction of the vampire revamp and the mythic item Threshing Stranglers, which I'll come to at the end. So I'll try and whiz through as quickly as possible. Siroria, Mother Sorrow's on. These are the bars. We're now using Soul Harvest as the ultimate instead of Incap, as we don't need the sustain anymore, thanks to the introduction of the new spam ball Blood for Blood, which costs health instead of Magicka, makes your sustain amazing. You're going to really notice the difference, so better to go for Soul Harvest now. You'll see some people with Orb on their front bar and in place of Inner Light instead of siphoning on their back bar. Not a personal fan of that, if I'm honest. I think it's better to have 7% max Magicka on your front bar versus 8% max Magicka on your back bar from having siphoning attacks and the siphoning passive there. So yeah, personal preference. I want as much damage out of my execute and impales as possible, so Inner Light on the front bar works better for me. Spell strat Mother Sorrow's on. Just an example of a setup that you'd use if you don't think you can keep Siroria stacks up. Spell strat is the best single target set in the game if you have the front bar set. It is better than Mother Sorrow, I promise. So the other thing to mention here is, why using Mother Sorrow and not Perfected False God? Well, we don't need to sustain from False God anymore, as I mentioned, thanks to Blood for Blood. And personally, I found that on body pieces, as I have Mother Sorrow here, it's just a stronger set than Perfected False God in terms of pure damage, and same bar setups. This next bit is, or this next setup, Mother Sorrow False God's on. This is still going to work great, especially if you have adds that you want to ensure that you're doing some cleave damage to. Maybe you even consider taking out Zahn and putting in, I think, Alambris and Dummy House look really solid now in terms of AoE DPS, or you can always go for the trusty 2-piece crit as well. My Asylum setup will be everything the same, apart from we're going to replace Crippling Grasp for Swallow Soul and have a ranged spam ball. This is literally going to be used for kite, jumps and attacking spheres across the other side of the room. Otherwise, you really want to use Blood for Blood as much as possible, get in melee range, use that skill. It does loads of damage. The other thing you'll notice here as well, obviously channeled accelerations, much easier to use than Trap in Asylum. And I actually have Destro ult here on the back bar, whereas in all the other setups I have Soul Harvest. Main reason for this is, in most cases I won't have a Destro ult at the start of a boss fight on a Magblade. The reason is that when you're score pushing, trash dying fast is just as, or if not more important than a boss dying fast. So you want to be using your Destro ults on trash, and then just using your Soul Harvest on the boss. I can promise you now that unless there's a boss fight where you have to kill multiple adds right off the bat, actually the first boss in Kind's Aegis is a good example of that. Maybe you want to save a Destro for that, but otherwise a Destro in a trash pack is going to do way more damage in total than a Destro on a single target boss fight. So really use your Destros in trash as much as possible, and Soul Harvest in boss fights. However, in Asylum, there's no trash beforehand, so you can port in, start with full ultimate, and drop your Destro. Trash setup: New Moon False God, pretty straightforward. Skills that are different here: Reaper's Mark for Major Berserk as you pre-buff and go into the trash, Shooting Star on the front bar for some extra max Magicka, and we use Sap Essence as the spam ball. Now, I have a question mark next to this as I want to talk about the new mythic item Thracian. So I actually have 2-piece crit on my trash setup at the moment, but I'm going to change it to 1-piece crit and these. So Thracian gives you 150 spell damage every single time you deal a killing blow to an ad. So it has to be the killing blow. I think what I'm going to do moving forward is I'm going to wear New Moon False God as standard in all my trash packs, and then I'm going to have 1-piece crit and 1-piece Thracian. What I'm going to do is go through my trash packs like that. Maybe I get some killing blows, maybe I don't. And then before each boss fight, I'm going to say to myself, okay, how many stacks of Thracians do I have? And I think Wheels is making an add-on for this, so I think once it's made, I'll post it in the description below because I think it's going to be really valuable. But what I'll do is I'll look at the number of stacks I've got. I'll decide, okay, is this number of stacks going to be better than a 2-piece monster helm? If so, I'm going to run 1-piece crit and 1-piece Thracian on all of my other setups. So I'd use Siroria, Mother Sorrow, 1-piece Zarn, 1-piece Thracian, for example. And if I have too many stacks and it's going to increase the amount of damage I take, then I'll consider just using my monster set as normal. There's going to be a discussion in groups where people say, okay, you know, realistically, can I do the last boss in Kind's Aegis with 10 stacks of Thracian? Probably not. You're probably gonna die. And for most groups progressing, I would just stay away from Thracian completely, to be honest. But if you're really pushing score as a group, or trying to push score, then I think Thracian's definitely the way forward. I would say anywhere between 4 and 7 stacks, maybe even 3 stacks, to be honest, if you could possibly kill an ad in the boss fight. Thracian's actually going to be better than a 2-piece set. Just that 600 spell damage you'd get from 4 stacks, for example, is going to be better damage than the DPS you get from the Zarn 2-piece. And the other thing about that is it's AoE, right? Because it's giving you just flat stats rather than a single target proc, like Zarn and like Moor. So they're my thoughts on Magicka Nightblade setups for Greymoor. I think we'll probably see quite a lot of Thracian in score pushing, but if you're in a progression group trying to go for titles and stuff, recommendation would be stay away. Okay, so the next part of the video is just the standard 21 million Iron Achenak dummy pass. I use Siroria, Mother Sorrow and more of the Infernal here. I don't actually have more yet on live, so this was done in the last week of the PTS. I also did forget to level Blood for Blood here, so I guess you can expect a little bit more DPS. Hope you enjoy.
Best days passes by, and most long for a place that they never find. I'm afraid I wake up when I die, and it is too late to climb any mountain. Time is of the essence, the blood running through our core. It's best to not feel sorry when it's over. I will be the greatest that you've ever seen before, and I'll stay eternal. Eternal. stops run out. When things don't go to plan, I kinda lose my mind. I hope it's real, this life comes around. Just keep your faith and search for the fountain. Time is of the essence, the blood running through our core. It's best to not feel sorry when it's over. I will be the greatest that you ever seen before, and I'll stay eternal.
So next part of the video, hopefully the most important part of this is you actually take something away that improves your raid performance and your actual DPS in raid, because at the end of the day that's by far the most important thing. So I'm going to show 3 clips, first 2 talking about how to line up your execute properly, and the last one just a quick touch on the vampire skill. So first 2 clips are both from our stress tested VMOL score progression. I'm sure plenty of you have seen me do passes on these bosses before, but I'll quickly go over some of the stuff I do here. So first thing is pre-buff with Urvolds and outisde. This gives you extended minor force and major slayer duration. What I would actually recommend, which is what Warfire ended up doing with good success on a few of these bosses in here, is using Elfbane with Urvolds or another pre-buff set of your choice. What this does is it actually increases the length of your Destro by 5 seconds at the start of the fight. So you can drop your Destro, swap off the Elfbane setup to normal boss setup, and that Destro will have an extra 5 ticks, which really increases the damage of it. So this is the most important part of the fight. Shield Fade comes up just before execute. I recast all my dots, hit my Incap, and then watch the DPS go up on the left hand side. You can literally gain, in a fight as short as this, over 20k single target from having a good execute. So this really is the most important part of the fight. Okay, on to the second clip, and this is actually a twins fight from obviously same group and progression. I do apologise for the quality of the video as well here, but I had to take some from my streams because I hadn't got any of these saved on my hard drive. So one thing I wanted to touch on before, which I didn't really, is dot prioritization. So something which I actually don't do particularly well here is prioritizing my AoEs. There's 2 targets, and really I want to be prioritizing those, so Mystic Orb and Twisting Path, over the other dots. You can see I've already got an ultimate here, but I was holding on to it to wait for that Colossus, which came in execute, lined it up, and then impel spam at the end. One of the biggest things is learning fights like this. I mentioned it on my Stamblade video as well, but the same thing applies to Magicka Nightblade, and it's knowing when the execute is going to happen. So here I actually recast Cripple early and Blockade early, and then I actually got stunned by an ad, so my Incap didn't go off, but should have been an Incap and then impales till the boss died. And finally, the last clip. People say you can't use blood for blood in a raid, you're going to kill yourself. Just a short clip of me spamming blood for blood in a flare on Yonkin hard mode. So for sure you can use it. Anyone tells you can't, they're being silly. Just be sensible about the situation you use it in, but obviously this is a high damage situation, and I survived just fine. So, hope you all enjoyed the video, hope there was something valuable for you all here, and I'll see you next time.